Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you tuning in once again. So I got a little different video for you this time. We're going to do a little video on kind of my journey in model building. The things we learn as we go, things that sharpen our skills, just different things we picked up along our build process, our build walk, if you will. So I thought I'd show you a little video of just kind of a quick where it kind of began for me and YouTube starting. All that kind of stuff. I hope I got it in chronological order. I was really trying to figure out what was first, what was, it was just one of those because it's been some time. I mean, it's been some time. So I'm really trying to think about how some of this went down. Some of the information may be wrong. So if you've watched older YouTube videos, I might be wrong on some of the stuff. I apologize for that. I'm just trying to go through it. But I just thought it was kind of interesting to look back at different things that I've started with, different things I've learned. Different things that I've unique tools, like different tools I've used, and just the steps along the way. So I thought I'd show you a few things and show you some of the journey that I've been on from the beginning to where we're at today. So follow along with me, and like I say, hoping it kind of goes okay. I wasn't sure how the video is going to turn out, but here we go anyway. So let's take a look and check it out. All right, guys, we are bench side. So a quick story in this, so it's probably not going to be quick. I don't know. I'm going to try to make it quick, but I know how it's going to go. It's probably going to run forever. So I hope I make it somewhat interesting for you. I'm trying to put the storyline together to make it to where it's all, in order. So we'll see how it goes as we run with it. So a little background on my building history. Just like everybody else, start with my dad. I was probably 9 or 10, not sure. Dad was in the Air Force, so built a lot of airplane models back then, a lot of airplane models. Did a few cars here and there. So I am 52 at this point. So I've been building models for quite a long time. Back in the day, we started out with the models that we got snap tights, and all that stuff, and working at them in the living room with my dad. And we never painted nothing. Whatever the color the model was, that was the color of the build. If it's yellow, the model was yellow. If it was black, it was black. Got some decals on it, done. Move on. Let's go to something else. This is just how we built them. So I ended up selling all my models back in the day when I was a kid. These two are the only ones left that I have of my older kids. They were in my bedroom when I went to clean my mom and dad's house out. They were up there. Thank God. I thought, cool, they're still there. No kidding. But they sat in my garage for a while. And so they're dirty because they sat in a garage. They didn't look like this when they're in my bedroom, obviously, because that'd be pretty nasty if my bedroom was looking like that. But anyways, these are my two oldest models I have from my childhood days. These are right here. And so obviously the Glidden is probably 87 and the Allison is probably a 89, I'm guessing. So that's where we ended up at the beginning. So back in the day, I started out with just spray cans. I did the tester cans, and my dad painted the B-52 years ago when I was a kid. Painted the underside of it white with tester spray, and I thought, oh my God, I didn't know they had such a thing. So I went out in the garage, had a Smoking the Bandit Trans Am, found some black Anolia, or I don't know what kind of paint. It was like spray paint, but I don't know if it was Ace Hardware or True Value or whatever it was. Painted this model. Paint was so hot, come back, it melted it. So I really never did a lot of aerosol cans other than these tester cans. So that's all my painting was back in the day, was tester cans. Once I started getting into it. So as you can see, the two on the table, I don't have a lot here. These are like older cans. So check this out. I mean, it tells you how old this is. This is from Myers, and it's $2.99. I mean, when's the last time you seen a paint can for $2.99? And that was the high dollar can. I remember paying like $1 or something for these. These are my two oldest ones. Like I say, I sold all my other ones at a garage sale. I blessed some kid with them. And that's as far as we got so far. So we're going to move on to the next set and kind of work our way through them to which models were more kind of game changers for me. And we're just going to kind of walk through it and which ones were more significant than others. I got a lot of builds here, but I'm only going to show you just a handful of them because I don't want to run this thing 2 hours long, So let's move on to the next set. So moving forward, these two cars were kind of turning, a little bit of a turning point for me. These were kind of the first couple I've ever done in like a metallic paint. The F-150, the flare side, That truck is really significant because this is the first time I kind of kit bashed anything. Um, I built this a long time ago, and those rims and tires, these are off of one of my infamous 87 Turbo Coupe models. The rims are out of that kit, and the Fatty Goodyears, those are out of a uh, MPC kit of some choice. I'm not sure which one. So I thought this was such a cool build. And back in the day, obviously, I never trimmed anything out. These are just sprayed with tester's paint. Nothing was polished, sanded, anything like that. And this doesn't even have a clear coat. And this was just the weird, I think the box color was this back in the day, if I remember right. So I tried to mimic the box, all that fun stuff. And you can see I had a heck of a time trying to paint that color. Everything was just box stock pretty much. Like I say, this was kind of one of them that I did the different wheels on and kind of went with that. So most of my builds were, pretty much that way. We did the silver trim around the windows. I did that with the ever so popular Tester's paint. So back in the day, that's all I really used was the Tester's bottle paint because that's really all we knew. That's all we had. So we'd always go down to Kmart or Ben Franklin's or Big Wheel, whatever we went and got our stuff. That's all they sold was testers. So that's all we used. Everything was put together with the tester's glue, the one that come in the tube, the red tube, the one that smells really good that we all know and love. I tell you what, I wish they'd make an air freshener of that. And it looked like the bottle. And when you wanted more fragrance out of her, more glue smell, you like pull the cap a little higher and it'd give you that stronger scent. Man, I would buy a dozen of those. I wish I knew how to do something like that. I bet you it'd be a hot seller. But anyways, so that was my thing. I basically aerosoled everything with the tester paints. Nothing really got primered at all. Didn't think that was a big thing back then. Like I say, it was just one of the things we just never knew any better because you didn't have the internet. You didn't have nothing like that. We just built for the fun of it, and we built tons and tons of models over the years. My brother and I did. So we just had fun with it, and that's as far as we got. Other than that, the truck was kind of a glue bomb special to a point. It's, I don't know if you really can see it or not, but there's like massive bulges of glue inside the tail lights. I tried to do some working on the front lights. A little bit of handiwork there. Glass is a little on the hazy side. So this model's just been sitting on my shelf. It's really never left the house or anything. So it's kind of a hermit. It just lives here. And you can tell, kind of painting this, learning how to use this paint, you can see the, almost where it's open, like the paint just separated completely at the gas door. Interesting build for me there. Like I say, kind of learning how to use metallic paints. Finding out you just don't spray it all at one time, just heavy dose and just, come on, let's go. A lot of light coats. So the Plymouth Prowler was the same way. So back in day, I started at the dealership and the Plymouth Prowler was out. I don't remember what year this is. And I started out in the dealership and they came out with this model. And I thought, oh man, I got to have this. And so this is all done in aerosol as well. No clear coat, nothing like that. This model's pretty rough. She's falling apart. I got the fender and everything over there. So as I'm working on these or showing you guys, there's probably going to be a lot of parts falling off as I tip them. Just because, yeah, that's just the way it is. They're just gonna fall apart. They sit in the original boxes that I built them in. Back in the day, speaking of our spray paint, Testers had, if you guys remember or not, Testers had this line of paint that was basically paint colors for the car. So the paint for this was actually called Prowler Purple. And I personally don't think the paint is correct for the car because it was more of a darker, deeper purple versus this color. And the camera does make it look a little lighter, but I personally remember the car being more of a purple, not like a burgundy purple. But anyways, that was still cool. That was the paint. And going into it, I can tell that even painting that grill, it really didn't fill in that well. So kind of learned a lot with this model on, like say, doing metallic paints. Just got to be careful with it and just take your time, and they work out pretty good. So like I say, there's nothing on this. It's just the paint out of the can. Like I say, all my builds just till recently have all been done with, the tester cans. That's how I did every build out there. So this next group of models on a table. These were, again, something I learned a lot from when I was painting. So the two Mustangs in the front, along with the two in the back, the Cougar and the Lightning. The Lightning, it's all here. I think it fell off a shelf years ago. So it looks rough. It's rough and tough. But it's all here as I smash into the Mustang. And yeah, so it was a cool build. You know, I just kind of, I aerosol the bottoms always, and sometimes I would actually use the Walmart primer. I'd go up and get a thing of flat black, and I discovered that actually was okay on some of the plastic, so I'd run with that for quite a while, and then Walmart kind of quit selling it, so I just quit buying it. It was like 99 cents a can. You could do like 7, 8 models of that thing. Worked out really good. So I was using the gray primer and the black for basically all my chassis work. Was getting the black primer. It was just easy, just heavy shot across the bottom, and away you go. But the Mustangs up front, I learned on these cars here, I could paint these cars in the red testers, and while they're still wet, hit it with the clear coat. I would use the extreme lacquer clear coat and just go to town with it, just hose her down. So I never obviously decaled and then clear coated. I always just did the paint and then clear coat, and then that was it. So I always did the decals later because I never even thought of putting it underneath back in the day. So I found it turned out pretty good. You could get a pretty good shine. So back in the day, I never wet sanded, polished, waxed, none of these models. These are just straight out of the can. You can see some dirt stuff in there because, like I say, I just never did anything with them. So this model here turned out pretty cool back in the day. Like I say, we're going to have parts falling off probably, so just the way it is. But yeah, so aerosol painted the exhaust. Like I say, it's probably flat black or some kind of, you know, some kind of primer black from the big Walmart cans. And that's how I did all my models back then. This Mustang here was the same way. I got the paint with the clear coat. And no sanding, no nothing like that. It was just shoot it and go. A lot of the interior was never taped off. It was just painted by hand because I just didn't realize that they made like cool tapes and stuff. I was just using basically, see, a tail light fell out. I was just using basically like painter's tape and whatnot. So the Cougar, that was kind of a later build. And I don't know what I was thinking, but that one's, sometimes when I was building models, I'd get lazy and I just like, okay, I got a can of this, got a can of that. So looking at the bottom of this car, this was one of those that I must have had a can of red paint, maybe left over from the Mustangs, I don't know. And some of that tester gold and tester silver. And I would just hand paint everything and just kind of keep picking away at it. And I think under the hood on this car is the same way. It's kind of just that crude, like, hey, how many colors can you put underneath there? So that's how I did a lot of stuff back then. Moving up next, this car was a memorable build for me. This one was a turning point for me in some of my building skill. Like I say, as our humble beginnings to updating and just kind of advancing some of our procedures. So this car here was painted with the tester's aerosol can, as usual. We got the glue stick in the window there where the mirror was, try to put the mirror on. And I believe at this time, this model here, I found they had tester glue in the glass jar, kind of like the Tamiya we use today. And I started using it on this. I'd scrape paint, you know, paint everything and all that good stuff. And I thought this thing was just the coolest build ever. I always took black paint and put inside the chrome, let it set for just a little bit, and I'd wipe it off and it'd give me that look. Because I didn't know what Tamiya panel line was back then. I mean, that's, like say the place we went to, they never sold any of that stuff, so I never knew what it was until I started watching some YouTube channels like, hey, what's that stuff? No kidding. So also on my headlights, it's headlight treatments. You can see it's just where the yellow or the orange is, it's just orange paint. That's all it was. And I used to take a little bit of white and go inside the chrome lenses just to give it a little more detail or depth. I thought at the time that looked cool, but that's the way that was. So like I say, I thought this was a turning point build for me. I thought this was like one of my coolest builds. And the reason for is because, like I say, the interior. So if you check out that interior, that red, that cool looking red interior at the time, and that became so cool just because 1 year for Christmas, we got an airbrush. Yes, sir, my first airbrush. Check that bad boy out. As you can see, it says Sears on it. Yes, that is Sears and Roebuck. Come straight out of the Sears catalog. Pick it up at the store, that type of thing. Or maybe the UPS man brought it. I don't know. My mom and dad got it from me for Christmas, I think back in like 1990. Something like that anyways. Maybe 89. I don't remember. So I had this airbrush before a lot of these models that I've shown you already. And I was never comfortable with it painting models. I was doing a lot more one-to-one car, like stencils, like logos on cars or something like that, and putting names on doors, all done with stencil work. Back in the day, I worked at a implement dealer, a Case IH implement dealer when I was in high school, and my manager, he was airbrushing gas tanks and he did all kinds of stuff. So he got me into the airbrushing a long time ago, and I thought, how cool is that? And I thought I had the coolest thing, but he had this really nice airbrush, and I thought, well, he says, hey, he'll do for now for a beginner brush. And of course, I put the adapter on the bottom to try to use it and see if it still worked, and which it does. So knowing your airbrushology, this is a single stage. So if you guys ever use one, it's paint, paint, paint. There's no air pull back paint. It's just, you hit it, you just get paint. That's it. There's nothing else. So you want a little bit of paint or you want full trigger. That's all you got. That was simple, straight, easy, piece of cake to use. It was the coolest thing. So doing a little research on it, this actually is a Badger. Probably just rebranded for Sears. But I use the crap out of this thing. I mean, I use this thing a lot. So when I got this thing, it came with, most of your hoses today are like your cloth hoses. Not this bad boy. This bad boy come with a vinyl hose. It was like this little blue hose, and the fitting was so small on the end of it. And it came with a bunch of different things. So I didn't have an air compressor. I have this thing up in my room. Like I say, I got it for Christmas, so it's cold outside. I'm painting all kinds of stuff in my bedroom. I'm using like automotive paint we had down in the garage. I'm mixing it with whatever thinner we had down there. It might even not been thinner, just whatever made it thin and go through the airbrush. And I was just painting everything. I painted this crude looking Ford logo in my closet on the wall. And it's just, oh man, I was doing cardboard. And so here's the disappointing thing. I had an airbrush book. And looking at the airbrush book and the pictures, I thought you just pulled the trigger and just magic pictures appear, And I thought, this thing's kind of sucking. It's just like it's just a little paint gun. I didn't really understand it that much back then. But as I got using it, I got pretty good with it. And like I say, I didn't have an air compressor, so I would use alternative air. Let's go that route. So this also came with, and I'm trying to find it's probably in some box somewhere. It came with this round piece that you'd thread onto the hose, and you could use a tire. You could pump a tire up and use the tire for your air. And that's what I would do back in the day. I had this inner tube, a car inner tube, and I would take it down to the garage. I'd air it up, get this thing just as big as I can get it, and almost to where it was almost going to pop. And I would bring it back upstairs, plug it in. I'd airbrush until the thing went flat, go back down, air it back up again. Those were my primitive days of airbrushing. I mean, how high tech was that? So that's what I started in airbrushing. Very old school. Yeah, so this was my first airbrush, and my first airbrush job painting a car was this guy right here with this airbrush. Like I say, I had this way before I did that. I started getting more comfortable with them. And you know what? Maybe I'll start doing models with it, because that's what originally I wanted it for, other than doing some car stuff, and just kind of worked out a little bit as we went. So this model was very significant because this was the first model I built on my YouTube channel. Believe it or not, this was the one. I didn't really do a lot of build assembly. I basically was just showing you as I was going, doing all that stuff. So this was video one of a car for me. So I actually started my YouTube channel 10 years ago, back in December 2014. I originally was doing it for model railroad stuff. So if you go way back in my very first videos, there's the one house we used to live in years ago. I had a model layout, like a train layout in that. I had a whole bedroom upstairs. We had this huge house back in the day. It had like 5-6 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. So I dedicated one whole room for a layout. And I went then did this video on it. and went through, and that was my first video of YouTube. 1 year later, 9 years after that, or I should say 9 years ago, in October 2015, I put this together, and that was I think it might have been my second YouTube video. And this car was cool because of that. So I airbrushed the interior, I believe, if I remember right, with that Pache. The white on the exterior was done in Wimbledon white with the aerosol, and I put primer on it. I used that Walmart primer, did all that. That turned out really, really cool. I think I airbrushed that. I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive I did. It kind of looks like airbrush work. So this was a cool car. Getting my skill back out for my white letter tires. So back in the day, I used to white letter tires with Tester's white enamel. Well, come to find out, Tester's white enamel on top of vinyl or rubber will actually never cure. It always stays soft, and after a while it turned yellow. I don't know if it was just yellow because of the dirt and dust in the room, or just it was always sticky tacky. It never hardened. So as we progressed and learned different things, I started finding new products, and I started watching a lot of YouTube channels, and I thought, hey, they got modeling channels up there, and I was looking to see what guys were using. So we ended up using this bad boy, the old Jelly Roll. I must have went through 10, maybe 12 different markers to try to figure out what was the best one to use. And this one here is my best favorite to date. So I love this thing. It paints really, really well. It comes in like a 3-4 pack at Hobby Lobby. And this is what I use nowadays. So like I say, the products we use going into this, you learn as you go. So also my knife, using anything for all my builds, I just had one of these X-Acto blades, just this little guy here. And I tell you what, this to me is the crappiest knife known to modeling, because the blade always loosened up, and you could just really grip that thing tight, and it somehow still would manage to come loose every single time. So that's what always happened. So other than that, moving on, we upgraded hobby knives, so now we're using the Acel, and I like this because it tightens up back here, and it really doesn't go anywhere because of that. But I see they got a new one out now. It's got a fancy grip here. I may invest in that sometime and go from there. So as was going through here, I was doing model railroading at the time as well. So I used a lot of Floco paints, and I believe I used some Model Master paints on this. So we have a lot of Model Masters here, and at the time Model Master, I believe, was just getting ready to phase out. And so I bought a lot of it at the time, and I got all kinds of it here. So that actually is a very nice paint. It paints very well. So it's just things I didn't know about until I started going to different hobby shops and finding out different techniques on things. And I believe this was maybe one of the first cars I started using super glue. So as, like I say, we start learning new products, different things to use. So we started using the super glue. So now we're using Loctite and the Bob Smith and the Bob Smith accelerator. I didn't know, like, the accelerator. I didn't even know this stuff existed. I think, what? And like I said, I'm watching YouTube channels, guys using it. It's like, what is that stuff? I'm like, no kidding. That is awesome. So YouTube has been such a great tool for me, kind of getting back into the hobby. Because I was kind of just a basic builder back then. Just whatever was in the box, that's all you got. That's all it was. And I was happy with that. I enjoyed it. I never really cut them up, bashed them, or anything like that. That's just the way it was. So once again, like I say, this was my first build on YouTube 9 years ago, back in 2015. So yeah, so that was one of those, like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this cool model, get this channel going, blah blah blah, all this stuff. And there we have it. That's as far as it went. Moving on into the journey, yes, you're seeing a set of twins here. I actually built one of these for my brother a long time ago. I was building one, and he said, oh man, I want one of those. And I says, man. And I never built this AMT truck before, so, and I know a lot of you guys have built this. It's not that good of a model, so there's some fitment issues and some problems. But anyways, I built two of these back to back, so I basically built them both at the same time. If I painted one thing, I painted the other thing, so I just undid it all one shot. Like I say, I started doing a little customization. I put the antennas on it, kept it stock, and I noticed when I was assembling it, like many of you probably have if you built this truck, you realize when you're starting to put it together, the box don't line up. The wheels are set too far forward. So as you can see in there, you can see some styrene tubing in the back of that box. So I jacked the back of the box up to level up to the cab and all that fun stuff. So it was still a cool build. It was a neat builder. Yeah, it was pretty cool. So I believe I used the airbrush on the flat on the top here, and I end up using flat clear. I put the decal down in flat clear, and I think this was like the first time I started doing it, and I thought, huh, that's cool. I didn't realize you could do that, and that works out really, really nice. So in the meantime, once again, starting to hit some different hobby shops, we learned about this cool product called Microset and Microsaw, and I thought, what is that? Like, say I'm watching you guys on YouTube, I'm watching all these videos, learning different things, and I thought, they got this stuff you can put on there, it softens decals. And at the time, I had no idea which one you used first, how you used it, how much you put on it. Can I touch it right away? Do I do anything? Do I reapply when it's wet? I didn't know. There wasn't a lot of information on there. It doesn't give you much information on the bottle. They give you a little bit here, a little bit of reading, but it still really never give me the full detail. And that's okay. We figured it out. Applied tons of it on this thing, and it started working out pretty good for me. And like I say, I have a lot of Floco paints here from Model Railroading, and the grills in this was used with the Floco Grimy Black. We did all that, and the truck overall didn't turn out that bad. And you can see some Scotch tape mark down there. So how I used to paint these back in the day, I used coat hangers. I'd tape it to a coat hanger, or I would use a stick, which you guys seen sometimes I use a stick. So I used to use these popsicle sticks. I'd get them at the craft store, get like a bag of them for like $1 or something like that, and I'd tape the model to a stick. The only problem you had is if you're painting it, okay, now I'm done with it. What do I do with it now? Because now I'm holding on to it. I can't take the bottle off, so I found I had to have a little vise. A little modeling vise. So I'd stick this thing in the vise, and then it'd sit there until it's dry. So this still works okay. I've used it yet still recently. Other than that, like I say, buying products, we end up picking up these Tamiya stands over the years. So we're using different things now, different stuff. And I thought for a while these were getting dirt in my models, because I know a lot of guys will tape these up. I actually end up cleaning a couple of them, and that's not the problem. I don't know where it was coming from, but it's just, yeah. So we're back using these again as of now. So, but here's the biggest thing. Here was the biggest thing I learned, and I didn't know. I was using tape, like the blue Scotch painter's tape. And we did these hoods, and the hood, that come out so crisp and clean. I thought, man, that stuff worked amazing. So back, I'm skipping around here. So back to the Model Railroad stuff. I had some polyscale for you railroad guys out there. Grand Trunk Western Blue. That's what the engines were painted with in these trucks. They both were done the same way. So we have, like, say, two GTW blue engines. It looked nice because that paint is already kind of a flat paint. So it kind of made it look like it looked pretty cool. So other than that, we once again was at the store when I was building these, and I found this cool product. They called it Tamiya tape. So I went crazy with it, and I bought tons of it. I bought all kinds of stuff. I even bought the curvy stuff that I really didn't like this much. But so every time I go to the store, I buy more and more and more. So I had like every flavor they had, every size. I was just buying it. This has probably all been restocked like 5 times over at this point. But I found the Tamiya tape was like my friend. I thought, oh, this stuff is so cool. So it's now my go-to. You know, because like I say, I used to use just Scotch Blue. I'd take and cut it up on a cut board and cut it down and all that fun stuff. And yeah, so another game changer for me was the tape. I mean, just unbelievable. Just worked amazing. Good stuff. So as time went on, we ended up moving to a new house. This is actually, it's the same house I'm in now. And I thought, man, I'm going to pick up the airbrushing again. I'm going to start doing a little more modeling, get back into it. So I started buying more kits here and there. And I ended up picking the old Knight Rider up. I think I actually had this kit for a long time. It was just sitting in a box. And I thought, you know, I'm going to build this because I'm feeling more confident with the airbrushing gig. So this car is cool because this is the first car I've ever painted with the airbrush. Like an overall complete airbrush job. Minus the interior. So as I mentioned, I was doing model railroad. So I did the interior with this, I don't know how you pronounce that, Alfreca mustard. That's what I did the interior with, and I thought, man, that looks pretty good, you know. And I painted a lot of buildings and stuff with this and all that good stuff, but it seemed to fit the interior scheme very well. So then we started using toothpicks and stuff like that. We did the dash and made it look all nice and cool. So like I said, I airbrushed this with that Pache. I have a 60-gallon upright air compressor in my garage, so I'm trying to tone it way down so I'm not blowing the hose off this thing. And we got it going. But before we did that, I had some different thinners in the garage, and I thought, man, so this kit actually comes with 2 hoods. So I was painting this hood as a tester just to see before I painted the car, and I thought, man, I just can't get it to, it's just dull looking. Now, mind you, I'm painting this out here in the garage, and it's wintertime. It is cold out, so I have a salamander. I got it fired up out here. That thing's just, it's like 110,000 BTU, so it just, you know, you just can't hear yourself talk, and got the air compressor running back, and we're going to paint this model out there, and when it gets done, we'll take it in the house and put it together. So anyways, we're working on this, and I thought, man, it looks horrible. So went back to the store, and I did not know, went to Hobby Lobby, and we found this. The Universal Enamel Thinner by Testors. I thought, oh, what a game changer. So I think I used the enamel. I can't remember if I used that or if I maybe did a little bit of mix with the Model Master. I really don't remember. So anyways, we did that. We put that together, and using that universal enamel, we end up with the paint job that you see now. So this was my very first overall paint job with an airbrush back in, I don't know what year it was. We've been in this house now for 12 years, I think, or 10 years. So it was that long ago. And it's kind of been, it was kind of a cool thing to do that. And I thought, well, I was doing it in the garage. It was rough. Don't get me wrong, it was rough. So there's no clear coat on this. There's no polish. There's no wax. There's nothing. It's just, you can see all the dirt in the hood. And I thought this turned out so cool. I thought, oh man, this is the coolest build I've done yet. And yes, it is missing a tire because I was moving this and it rolled and hit my leg on the floor. It went, and I have no idea. I got to go down and look for it. So yeah, so that was this build here. Build number 1, full paint job with the airbrush. So I kind of got the knack for it, and I thought, we're going to try some other stuff. Let's see what else we can do. So now moving on in our airbrush journey, I thought, oh man, we're going to paint some more stuff. So the gray Mustang on the right, that is my very first time mixing a paint to paint a model. I used various bottles of Model Master. I believe this was the bottle I used. It was like a gray color, and it needs to be shaken though. And I used it with, I can't remember, a little bit of white and black, and we got this kind of this primer gray look, and I thought, how cool was that? Airbrush the interior, all that fun stuff. And then this was the number 1 build I had. I thought, my goodness, this was, so I thought to myself, yep, the builds are getting better and better as we go. No clear coat on this. As you can see, the decals are just kind of just sitting on top. And like I say, I didn't know they had really a good clear for airbrushing. I know at the time there was this weird company called Tamiya, and they made this airbrush clear coat, but it was in lacquer, and I did this in enamel. And I thought, well, I used to paint 1-to-1 cars years ago, and I thought, I know for sure you can't put lacquer on top of enamel. And I thought, well, I'll just keep running just with that and just paint it as we go. So I thought that turned out pretty cool. Once again, we painted it in the garage, so I'm actually shocked there's not a lot of dust in it. And I was very proud of this model. I thought this was my number 1. Sat in a glass case on the TV. I mean, I'm talking like we're showing this thing off. So then we did the Shelby. So at this time, I took this car and I painted it in the black. And oh man, it turned out so good. It turned out really, really good. Once again, we're using a universal thinner, and I didn't do nothing else with the car. I just painted it, and that's as far as it got. I never built the rest of the model, nothing that. So this car is going to come back in just a few minutes, tell you a little more story on it. So now we're back in the house, rattle canning in the backyard, or in the back room, I should say, not in the backyard. But we were, I was working at a dealership, and they built a new dealership, and so they're cleaning out the place. We helped them move and all this stuff, and this was sitting in the parts room on one of the parts shelves, still sealed in the plastic, still sealed box. And the parts guy and I, we'd talk once in a while, and he'd ask me stuff, what's going on the weekend. I said, I'm getting back into model building, and so when they cleaned up, he saw this in there, so he called me over and says, "Hey, you want this?" And I says, "Heck yeah, I'll take it." So I ended up with this Bob Glidden Chief Auto Parts car, and so once again, another cool build. I thought, here we go, that we're getting better and better. Now at this point, this one was done with the Tester's white paint. And then I hosed it down with some clear coat. So this one I ended up putting the decals on and clear coating over them. And I kind of thought that was kind of a cool thing because I really never did that a lot. So that is just all done with rattle can. No polish, no nothing. So I was pretty impressed with my rattle can skills once again. And it turned out pretty nice. You can see it's got some dust in it and dirt and paint. But I was just painting in our back room. So this model here is a cool model because this was build number 2 on my YouTube channel. So I built this 8 years ago, back in January 24, 2017. So this is on my channel, and this car, I actually started to do a little bit of custom engine work, and I did the plug wires on it. So check this out. I didn't use your typical whatever. I ended up using brass wire, real fine brass wire, because I had the stuff here, using it for my railroad stuff, and I can't get this hood off. And there we go. So I use brass wire, and I thought, oh, that looks pretty cool. Well, as you can see, the distributor isn't wired up. It's just the wires kind of get in there and they just stop. They get cut off. Well, the reason was, some silly guy that was putting them in there didn't realize, hey, once you get done, because I got them coming out and down, and I thought I had this thing looking beautiful. I was so aggravated with myself. Now I put that all on, I can't get the hood to fit right, because now I got all these big heavy copper wires running everywhere, and I couldn't put the hood down. So I ended up clipping it off, and that was the end of it. And I think that was the last engine I wired just till a couple years ago. So I think that's why I don't wire engines. I got so frustrated with that one-time deal. It's just the way it went. So once again, watching a lot of these YouTube channels, I started learning to sand my wheels, give it more realistic look, and all that fun stuff. So I just thought this was a really, really cool build. This car never goes to shows or anything. It looks cool, but I just never thought it was show worthy. And I did my tape job here. You can see I kept it pretty even because you can see the line through there, it bled through, and it actually matches the other side. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, so that was build number 2 on the YouTube channel. Kind of getting the channel back and going from the railroad days. And we'll move on to our next victim here. Yes, the Monogram Boss 429/70 Mustang. Everybody's probably built this kit. It's kind of like the flip nose Chevy, it just seems like everybody's built it at one time or another. If you haven't, hey, it's actually a great kit. So this is a unique kit for me. This is the last kit I ever painted with a spray can, and I did dig this stuff out. I found the can. It still had some paint in it, so I always kept them. This is my last spray paint job with a can. This was the last one. And this car was also unique for me. I made my first time bare metal foil because, like I say, places I went, they never sold the stuff. And I watched you guys' channel. I was like, what's this bare metal foil? Because I always hand painted everything. And I was actually watching some videos. I found some guy over in Russia that on one of his videos, just scrolling through things. Because at the time, there wasn't a lot of, back in like 2017, there wasn't a lot of model car videos out there. There was a good handful of them out there, but not a ton like there is today. So this guy popped up pretty easy, and he was showing a tutorial on how to make bare metal foil. And I thought, no kidding. So I actually piggybacked off that here a while back, made a video on that myself, had to do a little research because the products he used, we don't have those here in the States. So I found out it was, what was it, leaf, like the leaf foil glue, and it works really, really well. So I've used it quite a few times. I still buy bare metal foil once in a while if I I don't know. It does work great. So other than that, that was the first car I ever bare metal foil was this Mustang. So this was a top builder for me because last time using aerosol can, first time doing bare metal foil, the mirror is actually in the car. Like I said, a lot of the stuff just sits on shelves. They never go anywhere. I tried wiping them down. I rubbed some of the foil off. Another thing too, this has the Magnum 500 wheels that came with the kit. The tires are actually off another one of my Thunderbird Turbo Coupe kits. They fit that, and I like the looks of them. I thought they looked pretty sharp. And I also learned on some of you guys' channels to paint the bottom of the car with the mist. So that's what I did with this, and I thought it turned out pretty cool. So this was another really, really cool builder for me. And as you see, the taillights are blackened a little bit. Found this product in the store called Tamiya Panel Line. What is that? And I ended up breaking that up, put it on those lights, did the engine, you know, black wash that. Like I say, watching YouTube channels, watching you guys. And I learned a lot after getting back into the modeling after a little bit. So this build was done. This is my third build I did on YouTube. I actually had a table set up in the back room, and I had to stay away from the kitchen table because I had a little concern. I had a little problem. Yeah, so before we get into that story though, I just did the panel line around the taillights. And I was going to do the doors and stuff, but I wasn't that familiar with the product, and I thought the paint turned out so cool. I did the tester spray on it, and then I did the tester's extreme lacquer clear, and I thought, oh, it just looks so cool. And I thought, man, I don't want to mess it up. So I didn't do nothing with it. So it's just basically box stock. I built all my stuff box stock. You can see I taped everything with a Scotch tape back in the day on skews. I started buying skews and all that stuff, and that's where we started. And you can see I actually got the glue a little heavy on here. You can see it's got some glue remnants here, some across the roof, and on the back. I think there's a big glob of it back here. Because first time making it, I had the glue really heavy, and it wipes off, but you got to put a little effort into it. So it's one of those things I just left. So yeah, so this was build number 3 on YouTube. I had to go back and look at the dates on this. So this was December 9th of 2017. That was the build on this. So at this time, I kind of put off building for YouTube anyways. I was still building cars because living here at the time, it took literally days to upload a video. And I thought, well, this kind of sucks. So I just kind of quit doing it. And I thought, man, it's just taking forever. So story on why I built this in my back room on this other little table I found, because I found this really cool glue. It's called Tamiya Thin. And painting or doing a model, and it was a model in between these other ones. And like I say, I got a lot of them here. I just don't have showing to you. We had this table, right? And I was using this building something. I don't remember what I was doing. It had a leaf in the table. You know, they had the leaf so you can extend the table out. I got the top off. I'm going to town. We're doing whatever. And all of a sudden I go to move it. It's against that leaf because it wasn't really flat. It was up a little bit. It catches the edge and tips over. And I thought, oh, that was a brand new bottle. And of course, it just, I mean, it's like a Valdez still across the top of the table, just everywhere. Just, oh my God. So I flipped it up quick. I go to the kitchen, grab some towels. I wipe that off, and it takes the finish almost all the way down to the wood. And I thought, oh my God, my wife was not happy. So meantime, I got the leaf out in the garage trying to refinish it to make it look like the rest of the table. And I just couldn't, I didn't know what color stain they had on, so it really never matched. So of course now the table got shrunk, no leaf in it. And it went all over the floor. I mean, you know, between the crack, and it was a bad deal. So the wife's like, no more at the kitchen table. You know, it's just one of those. And I get it. But yeah, so I see why you guys use the little stands for these now, because yeah, they tip over easier than you think. I just bumped it, you know, and I had top off. I think I was maybe putting it back in to get more. I don't know what happened, but anyways, it tipped. It made a mess. It burned the table. It was all over at that point. From there, we kind of held off for a little bit. Once again, I was doing model building, but like I say, nothing on YouTube or anything like that. Like I said, I got a lot of cars here. So, but this was the last aerosol job and the last kind of video I put up since 17. So it brings us back to the Hearst Mustang. So this car is kind of cool to a point. Not really, the build's kind of a sucky build, but this was the first car I did in the new model room. I assembled it and did this car. So I built this car and showed it on the channel on March 6th of 2022. And I had built this room. This room is in my back garage. So I built this room, and I started getting back into YouTube. I found out, hey, I can burn these to a drive and I could take them to work and upload videos. So that's what I would do. So I got the YouTube down thing a little better, did a little research on how to, step it up a little bit. And we got the YouTube thing working better. So I built this room 3 years ago, starting in December of 2021. And it took me to February 17th of 2022 is how long it took me to build this room. So I built it in the middle of winter. I remember the winter was horrible. I built the thing by myself, and it was just, so I actually made 5 videos on building this room. So if you look in my archives way to the back, there's basically starting out and complete finishing on YouTube on building this room. And looking at some of the old videos, I have hardly nothing on the walls doing the videos. And now it's like, you can't put stuff on the walls in here now. So it's just, oh, we should have been a bigger, but yeah, so we didn't. And that's as far as it went. So anyways, back to the Mustang. So we did this, finished assembling this build on the channel, kind of the first car build on here. And I was watching YouTube videos again, and I watched HPI Guy's Workshop, and a lot of guys have watched his channel. I does some cool builds on new stuff, new products, whatnot. He always uses Future floor polish, and I thought, oh, so off to Myers we go. I think it was Myers or Walmart. I think it was Myers. And I told wife, I gotta get this. She said, what do you know that? And I says, I'm going to use it for clear coat. I seen these guys use it on YouTube. It works great. So I put it on this car because I built it, and I thought, man, I wish I would have clear coated the decals. I didn't. And I tell you what, I would never use it again. I don't know if I did it. I just put it on too thick, but it's cracks on me. So if you look in the door, you can see it cracking, and it kind of has a little bit of a haze to it. So on the other side, I put it on pretty heavy because I remember watching the videos and they said, just put it on, don't touch it. Well, this side here, I got a really nice run in the door. You can see it right there. And I thought, are you kidding me? And the paint actually looked beautiful on this thing until I put that on there. And now it looks like a derby car. I mean, it's like, come on. And so now I want to get another one of these and build another one. And the decals are horrible to put on. I used my microsol on it, and it went down okay. But yeah, so that's a never no again for me. I actually found it does work nice if you want to do vinyl seats in a car. It works great for that. So I keep it around for that occasion. That's it. But putting it on the car for clear coat anymore, for me, that's a big no. Lessons learned. So next big moment of my building journey I'm doing is I started using MCW paint. This is the first car I sprayed MCW on. Watching all you guys' channels. I actually found Matthew's channel, Model Car Videos, and it was funny. My wife and I ended up getting COVID. I didn't think I had it. I didn't believe in it. It was one of those but I was sick. I had this weird, I didn't know what was going on. They tested me and said, oh, you're positive. I thought, are you serious? So anyways, I was home watching videos for about a week, and I come across Matthew's channel. So we watched a bunch of videos, and he's talked about this MCW paint. I thought, no kidding. That is awesome. I'm going to have to try some of that. And I thought, well, where do you get it? So he was mentioning get it, Mark, from Hobby Nut Models. So I ended up going to Hobby Nut Models, and I ordered a bunch of it, and I started using it. And I had such a hard time with this paint when I first started using it. It wasn't spraying right. I went all out and bought the Mr. Hobby Leveling Thinner, the Unicorn Tears as we call it, and just wasn't working for me. And I stripped this thing down. I actually used this whole bottle. This is blue charcoal metallic. It's an enamel, and I used the whole bottle on this car. And being a convertible, you shouldn't have to use that much. And the side of the car is not that thick, so it shouldn't take a lot. I stripped this thing down, redid it, stripped it down, redid it, and all that stuff. And I tell you what, it's just like, what is going on with this stuff? So I found out I was mixing it too, I wasn't putting enough thinner in it. And once I started figuring it out, I put the hardener in it, all that stuff, and just now I got it down where it turned out pretty nice. This has the tonneau cover in it too. I haven't pulled off right now, but so yeah. So I thought this car turned out pretty good all in all in the end. Used my homemade bare metal foil on because that was a lot of foiling. Keep starting to sharpen my skills on that because that took quite a bit to foil all that, and I probably did those sides probably multiple times because it was quite daunting to keep that straight cut all the way back. So it was lessons learned going in on it. Overall, cool build. I tried foiling the emblems. That didn't work out so well. This is one of the cars that's just never been to a show, never really took it anywhere. It's really never been out and about at all. It's just been a home body. And another first for me on this car, I did, as parts are falling off, we might as well just lose the hood because I see that's falling off. So the first time I ever did, I did the flocking on the floor. So instead of buying the, what is the flocking that everybody usually uses, I use grout that you put in floor tile. I use that and use Mod Podge, learned about that stuff, and found out they had canopy glue. So we're getting all this products we're buying, and we're going to different hobby shops and buying different stuff. And I ended up buying some of this grout, put in there. Of course, it was gray, let it dry, put it in with Mod Podge with a spray bottle, and just dumped out the extra, and there we had it. And I painted it blue and all that fun stuff. So that turned out pretty cool. The whole interior is pretty cool looking. I did like a cool flat white on the inside of the dash. It just turned out really neat. And it was just a really cool interior. I was really proud of myself on this interior. I spent some time on it. I thought it turned out pretty cool. So the blue paint on this. So wife and I decided we're going to start maybe doing some hobby shop runs and see who's out there. So we're looking on Google. We're going all over the place, and we're stopping all these different hobby shops. And I always went to this hobby shop in Detroit when I was buying my railroad stuff. So I knew about that one. I'd go down and buy model kits. We were buying stuff from Hobby Nut. Anyways, we went down to Ypsilanti, and we found this place called the Model Cave. And I'll tell you what, if you guys want paints, this guy has paints like you wouldn't believe. So if you're in Ypsilanti, Michigan, you got to stop in the Model Cave. He's got rooms and rooms and rooms of paint. He has everything but MCW. I haven't been there in a bit. Maybe he's got MCW now, but he is like the paint store. He's got like everything you can imagine, lots of it. Acrylics, enamels, lacquers, whatever you want, he's got it. Chrome, I mean, it's like a candy store for kids. It was just great. So go down there, bring lots of money, have a good time. But anyways, like I say, this was my very first MCW spray, and once we got it figured out, I was pretty confident with it. We started working on it from there. So when we're out and about doing some hobby shop tours, we thought, hey, let's go to Ohio and let's go see Mike at MCW. I'm liking this stuff so far. Let's go buy a bunch of them and meet the man, meet the legend, you know. So we ended up going to Ohio. I can't remember where our shop was at the time. Wings, Wheels, and Ways or something like that was called, this hobby shop. So we go down there, and it's like, this is an old back part of town, this little town we went to. And we just made kind of a day trip there and back. And I ended up buying a bunch of stuff. I mean, we were there for probably 2 hours. And like I said, I was still kind of new into YouTube. I really wish I would have videoed my experience there. Mike told me, you know, he took me back and showed me some of the stuff, and he showed me how he airbrushes and showed me how his lacquers paint, and it was just really cool. He come back, he says, here, I'll give you the 5-nickel tour, you know, and just showed me around the whole shop and in the back and everything. I thought, very cool. I wish I would have videoed it, but I didn't. It was weird to me at first doing that type of stuff in the public or something, so I didn't. But anyways, I bought a bunch of lacquer paints. My whole reason going down there was to buy the yellow paint on this Mustang. This is the AMT Mustang, and I wanted to mimic it from the original Gone in 60 Seconds movie, the original Eleanor. This was like a mustard yellow, but I realized in the movie they didn't have the flat black hood with the scoops on it. It was just a flat yellow hood. So I was almost going to do is take filler and fill in the hood scoops and just paint it yellow, and it didn't have the spoiler on the back. So I figured at this time, whatever, it was close, and I just went with the extra parts that it had, put the spoilers on it and whatnot. But I went there, and he's like, how many bottles does you want? Because he didn't have it. He had to go and mix it. And I said, I probably one, and this is in lacquer. He didn't have an enamel. So he says, well, I'll mix you two because it's easier to mix that way. I thought, hey, whatever, that's cool. So we bought a ton of paint from him, and it was just the coolest thing. So these two cars are my only two builds that are built in lacquer. These are my only two lacquer paint jobs I have, and it's this guy and this guy. So this was painted with the MCW lacquer, and this was painted with the Tamiya lacquer. This was painted with, I think it's Italian red, if I'm not mistaken. A lesson I learned on this car here. It was a cool build. These have never been to shows or anything. The cool thing about this car, I learned I was wet sanding it. And, lacquer, I learned, is not very, it's not as forgiving as enamel. So I painted it multiple times because I burned through it. And I thought, wow, this kind of, that's why I hate lacquer, but it was nice because you paint it, it was dry, you could work with it. So I'm wet sanding it, right? And I'm wet sanding the white. And silly me, I just wet sand the red. So now we're going to wet sand the right. Well, I didn't dump the water out. And I started wet sanding here. So this has a little bit of a pink hue to it. It's kind of hard to see, but you can actually tell it's a little different than the white on the top. Same paint, precipitated at the same time, but just when I wet sanded it, I hit that with that red, and there we have it. So I thought, oh man, so I dumped the water, wet sand the top, and then I went back and wet sanded this a little bit, but it does have just a pink hue to it, and I thought, okay, lessons learned. Make sure if you're changing colors and wet sanding, give yourself some new water because it's going to stain the paint basically. So this is a cool build. So I don't ever take this to car shows or model shows or anything just because of that. I can see it in certain lights. You can really pick it out. But I was pretty impressed with this model. It built up pretty nice. It's a nice builder if you guys never built the Etzel kit. Just a cool model. So those are my two lacquer builds. And yeah, so like I say, lessons learned. Make sure you dump that water out. So you guys see my nasty water bowl I use, a little dog dish we had. We had a little Chorky dog years ago, and that was its water dish. And I ended up using it for, the wife did something. So in the bottom of that bowl, you see it's got like a yellow, orangish yellow stuff. That's actually polyurethane that's just hardened. Wife was cleaning brushes one time. Of course, she leaves the brushes in there and didn't think about, hey, we need to take these out of here. So that's as far as I got. So at the time painting these, I ended up getting another airbrush. I got it off Amazon. It was a $0.0 $30 airbrush. Used the crap out of that thing until it started leaking real bad. And my big difference in that brush, instead of a siphon, it was a gravity feed. And I liked that so much better. It's so much easier to clean, easier to maintain. It was just great. So I use that airbrush for a lot of builds. So as we continue in our model building, scaling up here, trying to improve our skills. I notice the paint jobs are starting to get a little nicer. The builds are getting a little better. Once again, another Mach 1 AMT kit. This was done in MCW. So I did this up. It turned out really, really good. And I thought, I'm going to wet sand it and da-da-da. And I knew you really, I always say to people, it's hard to wet sand metallics. Enamel metallics, not so much. You can wet sand those pretty easy. So I give it a little bit of a hit on the wet sand, and now I'm learning different wet sands out there, different materials. I always use sandpapers from the auto parts store, so I use this stuff here, and then we started using the Trizac. I found this one time in an auto parts store, and I thought, hey, what's that stuff? I'm going to give it a try. It was expensive at the time. I think I paid like $13 a sheet for it, and you can get a lot cheaper on Amazon. So I started using this here, and this has been a game changer for me. So anyways, we did this, and I thought, I'm going to use some of the MCW clear. I picked it up when I was in Ohio, and we put it on and had the hardener, everything for it. Used the unicorn tears and the whole 9 yards. We started putting it on. I thought, this stuff sprays out really nice. Well, I thought, well, it's enamel. I'll give it a little bit. Well, next day I come out, and at this time I bought my Susie Bake Oven, my dehydrator. And I stuck it in there for a while, and I come back out next day. I thought, well, I'll turn the dehydrator on, and it ran all day. Ran all day, 121 degrees. And I thought, this thing's still like sticky wet. I'm thinking, really? And I thought, man, the silver painted really nice. And I didn't know what was going on. So I thought, man, is it clear like this? So I thought, okay. So I quit using the clear after that. And this model sat for a long time. So I decided I wanted to get it built. And now I'm leaving fingerprints in it, and it just was not hardening. I thought, what is going on? Is this stuff just garbage or what? So you can see kind of in the back here, you got to tip it just right. There's a nice fingerprint right there. You got to look at it just right in the light. I was trying to build it so there's no wet sand, no polish, nothing. You can see all the dust and everything in the hood, in the black and the trunk. I couldn't do nothing with it because it never dried. And almost today, it still feels like it's dry, but it almost feels like it's still tacky. It's weird. I grab onto it, I feel like I'm like it sticks a little bit. So I was talking to Mark at Hobby Nut Models, and he was telling me I probably had a bad bottle of hardener, and he was right. That was the deal. But after this model, lesson learned with the clear, I quit using MCW clear for a while because I thought, oh, I had this car turn out really good, and I thought now it won't cure, so I did away with it. I quit using it. So moving on to the builds, kept using the MCW. I found myself getting a little better and better with it, starting to learn the product more, and it became more second nature to me after a while. And now I can use it, and it's just whatever, it just easy goes, no big deal. It works great for me. So these three cars are MCW enamel. None of them are clear coated. So we did the Oldsmobile in the back, kind of a second time using the metallic blue, and this metallic blue is a lot more, this is midnight blue, and this is a lot more transparent. So once again, learning new products, we end up finding out using the Mr. Hobby finisher. I believe I did that car in silver, or the gray primer, and wet sand it down. I thought, man, this thing's turning out so good. Going back into it, that paint did not cover at all. I mean, it took so many coats to get it to where it's at. Still a cool build. It's kind of still one of my more favorite builds. And I messed the headlights and the grill up. I must have painted those grill panels 1,000 times, and they just weren't working for me. And the headlights, I messed them up. I lost one, so I ended up making headlight covers for it and all that stuff. But you can see on the hood that really didn't fill in that well on the edges. You can see it's kind of white. And I messed up wet sanding in the center, so I ended up putting that chrome stripe on there to cover it up. So yeah, so I'm telling on myself on that. So other than that, it painted out well. This was not wet sanded or nothing like that. So you can see the big blips in the trunk. This was just straight out of the gun, straight blue. There we have it. I never did nothing to it because I really didn't know that was a cool thing to do back then. So did a window tint in the back. I actually used actual window tint on that instead of the Tamiya smoke. And I painted the tires, and those BF Goodriches are the cool tires out of our friendly MBC kits. So that was a cool build. But like I said, kind of learning the MCW paints, and it turned out pretty good. Now the Cougar in front of us, a lot of you have probably seen that. This one I took to a lot of shows, and it's surprising. I've never won anything with this car, which is kind of unusual. I think I won one third place thing a long time ago at the 4M show in Saginaw, and that is the club I currently belong to. It's that group, and I was shocked. I've taken this thing to so many shows, and it just gets overlooked all the, which I'm okay with that. I don't go to shows to take something home. It's always great to get recognized. I just like to show my work off. So if we don't win nothing, it's not a big deal. It's not, kicking the floor and stomping my feet and just whatever, because there's so many better talented builders out there than myself. They deserve it. So trust me. I mean, you go to shows, it's like, dang, there's some really nice builds. But the Green Cougar, I spent my time in wet sanded and polished and all that good stuff. There's no clear coat on this car. This is just polished enamel. And this car here, I was so amazed by it. It turned out so cool. I actually did a paint video on this, painting this using MCW. And this video to date is my highest viewed video that I have. And it's funny because I did this so long ago. It was like back in 22. But I still get comments on it and all that stuff. So it's people will say comment on something, and I'll look at it like, what are you talking about? So I actually have to go back and watch the video, and I thought, man, that video is kind of primitive, just did the job. But we've done some since then and kind of upped it a little bit. So obviously we got the bare metal foil now around the window. We're working with more of that. We added some hood pins. But other than that, my builds are pretty much box stock. I don't get too far out of the realm from there. But once again, this was such a cool model. It turned out really, really nice. It's just a great build. So yeah, so that was the AMT 69 Cougar kit. That's the yellow box art. So a cool car. Like I say, that was one of my big moments there, polishing that. Turned out really, really cool. Now the Black Thunderbird real quick. So this guy here, once again, not clear coated. And I believe this is my first time spraying MCW black. And I thought, man, it laid down so nice. And I've had this car for, I don't know, I built this car, can't tell you how many times. This is actually the second one I've ever finished, ever. I built this thing multiple times when I was a kid. I built the original one, did in white. So this is actually like my second one I ever did, I guess. And I don't know what happened to it, but I built multiple in between, just never finished them. I didn't like the way they turned out, something. But anyways, this one here, I bare metal foiled the red stripe. So the red pinstripe on this is I took regular bare metal foil. I did a video on it and just trying different things, in the hobby, trying to get different techniques and all this stuff. Did a video on it, and what I did is I painted just a couple strips of bare metal foil with Tamiya lacquer. Peeled it off. As you peeled it, the lacquer, it flaked it right off. And I thought, okay, that don't work. So I went back, did it with enamel, MCW enamel. I don't remember, it was like race red or something like that, and that worked perfect. Just cut it out, put it on like you normally would bare metal foil, trim it with your knife, peel it back, and voila, you got a beautiful pinstripe. That worked really well. So this one here, I learned some different skill on doing the headlights, kind of blacking them in certain areas, and it made them look more realistic. Now we got Tamiya clears we're using. So we bought all these Tamiya clears, and like the orange, the blue, the yellow, reds, all that. So now we're using clears on everything, and it was just a big game changer. Bought so many Tamiya paints at the time, because at the time I was like, what's this Tamiya stuff? I just thought it was something that used for an airbrush or whatnot. So now these are my go-tos for all this stuff. So all my Tamiyas are all lacquers. I'm a lacquer painter, so everything I paint and do, all the interior is done with Tamiya lacquer, almost all of it, probably 99%. Other than that, I'll use sometimes the apple barrel for headliner, stuff like that, and then the outside of the car all gets enamel, MCW enamel. Like I say, these are not cleared. So another cool thing about this T-Bird is back in November of 2022, I went to my very first model show. And this was down in Detroit at the Macomb Community College. It was one of the DAM shows, the Detroit Area Auto Modelers. And never been to one before in my life. I've been to model railroad shows. Cool, just packed people. It was a great time. But never knew what to expect going to a model car show. And I went there. I pulled in the parking lot. I got there like an hour and a half, 2 hours later. I took a couple cars with me to show. And I ended up winning a 3rd place with this T-Bird, and I was so stoked. I thought, you gotta be kidding me. I was so impressed with myself. Unbelievable, couldn't believe it. And I just, out of all the builds on the table, for box stock, or it wasn't really box stock, it was like factory stock, I think they called it. I got a 3rd place with that, so I was just stoked with this. And this car has actually been an Auto Modeler magazine, stuff like that. So just really over the top for me on this one. And, now looking at some of my current paint jobs, this is going to get redone. Not this particular car, but I'm going to redo it, redo some different things, because this is one of those models where it sits awful high. You can see the gap in the wheels. And so I'm going to make the stance correct, and we're going to do another one in black and probably another in white, and we're going to run with that. So those are coming up sometime soon, probably, but like I say, that was a cool build for me because I did the pinstripe on it. I polished the black, and we did the interior correct. I have one of these sitting in my yard, so I mean, it's just, yeah, I love the car. It's one of my favorite cars ever, and I was so stoked getting that award for it. So my very first award. So that was a cool deal. Now, sometime later, I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this MCW another try, the clear. So we did the 69 Camaro. I think it's 69. I'm not a Camaroologist. It was an AMT kit, and I liked the movie Better Off Dead. If you guys ever seen it with John Cusack and whatnot, it was like an 80s movie. Anyways, I had this car in the movie, and I kind of mimicked it off that movie, and they pulled it out of the garage playing playing Muddy Waters, Manish Boy, I think it's called. And just, it was so cool. I thought, man, that was awesome. And I mimicked that car after this. And I don't ever take it to shows or anything. It turned out pretty nice, but the car's not complete. So I'll give you a little, yeah, so I never even finished the engine. I started losing interest in it. And it didn't turn out like I kind of wanted to, so I just never done anything with it. But I did end up using the MCW clear on it and polishing it. And this was kind of my first successful build using the clear coat, for what I can remember. And it turned out pretty good. So we're back on clear coat at this time. Now everything's cleared, no matter what the build is. So we were happy with the results. And this just sits on the shelf. This has probably been sitting on the shelf for a couple of years, so it's hasn't been cleaned up or nothing. But once again, turned out really nice. Back with the MCW clear coats. And yeah, so moving back into the scene with other products, you know, obviously we've found out different things at this point. You know, we're using now model tool pens, different tricks with those. And I found out using those model tools, if they go bad, I actually take the tips and pull them off. I'll actually dump it in a jar, and I'll dump this in my airbrush. And you don't have to thin it. It's very much thin enough. You can just dump it in and spray. It's not as durable as some of the other like Green Stuff World, like this stuff here. But it does, if you're doing rims or something, it works. It's great for a pinch. It works really good. Other products we learned along the way is UV light glue. I use this a lot. I find this works really good. You buy it, comes with a little light, all that kind of stuff. And the other big thing was a must, I know a lot of guys use, is the Tamiya anti-static brush. So these are just products we've learned along the way as we've been going. Different techniques, different things, just to help enjoy the hobby a little bit more. Like I say, just as you go, you just learn as you go. Also learned about using the purple pond, stripping chrome, all that good stuff. I didn't know that existed. Because I always heard you guys talking about, got to put it in the pond, got to do this. And I thought, what are you guys talking about? You know, just like, what's this magic pond? And I thought, oh, using purple power? Okay, so started using that. So just watching a lot of you guys' channels, just learned so much on it. So now we wrap up to our final chapter here. I'm sorry, the video is probably running way longer than I wanted it to, but that's just how it goes. So if you made it this far, thanks. I appreciate that. Appreciate you hanging out. We upgraded airbrushes a while back. I kind of forgot about it. So back a while back, my wife, she surprised me and bought me an airbrush. And she says, I got you a present. And this was probably, I've had this now probably for a couple of years. And she said, I got you a gift. She said, I bought you an airbrush. And I thought, oh. Usually my wife buys me something, like, okay, what did you get me? You know, and she says, I got you a nice one. It was expensive. And I thought, and at first I'm thinking, what did you get me? Like an Aztec or something? You know, the old plastic tester thing or something. And she's, no, it starts with an I. It's Iwita. I says, Iwata? And she says, I think that's it. And I said, well, which one did you get me? And she said, oh, well, I don't know. You just have to wait and see when it comes in. She said, I ordered it and it should be here anytime. I was like, okay. So it shows up and it's a HP-C plus. I thought, oh, you got me a pretty nice one. So this has been my go-to airbrush for quite a while now. Dual action. And I tell you what, this thing is amazing. So most of my paint jobs and everything's been done with that. Up until lately, Gallery come on board with the channel. And we've been using the Gallery airbrushes lately. This is the Swallowtail. And I love this because I like the trigger. I love the trigger on it because when I'm a slow painter. If you guys seen some of my paint videos, it takes me a while to paint a car. And using that button, my fingers start to go numb. So I love this because it's got the big cup, a half-ounce cup. And it's fully polished on the inside. So when you put thinner in there to wipe it out, the cup's almost clean. You know, where this one here, you got to do a little bit of work to clean it. But I love these Gallery brushes. They paint a little bit different. And I've been noticing the paint jobs have been coming out a lot, I guess a little more smoother, I should say. So with that in mind, these are a couple of renditions that were painted. So using that Gallery airbrush, like I say, getting sharper on the paint the build skill has been coming up and more improvement. These two models have like 0 fingerprints, 0 glue marks, anything like that, which is kind of shocking, as I always leave some kind of trademark behind somewhere. So these were impressive for myself, just because of that. So I was pretty happy with it. These are once again MCW enamels, and I ended up using the Tester's Gold. I learned not to use that Tester's paint after doing the Oldsmobile, but I didn't have nothing else here. I was getting desperate. I didn't want to wait for a mail order or have to go to the city and make a drive to go get something. So I bit the bullet and did the gold on it, on the wheels, and it turned out pretty good. I just need to be careful not to handle it, don't touch it. It worked out really nice. So once again, MCW clear, and the build skill just gets a little better as we go. You know, as like anything, the more you do it, the better it gets. So that's the metallic green. These are all wet sanded and cleared. So yeah, so just enjoying the hobby, and one of the last builds I did here, and once again the bigger game changer in the hobby. So we did this Mustang here. This was more of a recent build, just lately. 3D printing. Everybody's getting into 3D printing. I was buying products for a while. I had a 3D printer doing my railroad stuff, but it was an E-Pax. Bought it like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. It cost like $500, and it was just like, wow. And it's had a 5-inch build plate, and it was like a 2K mono. It wasn't that, it was just primitive. It was like first of the first, you know, and I thought, I'm going to give this a try. And, you know, it was okay, but now we upgraded to a Elegoo 12K, and so these rims are printed off that, and just, man, what a game changer using 3D parts, which I know a lot of you guys out there are doing that now. Tried different paints on this. This is Bob's paint. So that turned out pretty cool with the MCW clear. Used Tamiya smoke. Started using that more and more. We did the headlights on that. So just different things we learn as we go along on the channel and on the building. Just, you know, you kind of just progress as you go, and it works out really good. Like I say, watching a lot of you guys' channel, I learned using different pipes for the exhaust, you know, using solder and everything else, and just, it's amazing some of the cool stuff you can do. So my last paint I just did, like I say, I feel the paint quality is getting better as we go, and this is my last one of the video. So we had this guy here. This one we just finished just about a week ago, and that turned out really nice. So this isn't wet sand polished or nothing like that yet. This is just fresh out of the gun booth, whatever, and I haven't done nothing with it yet. So this one's coming up on the channel. We're going to do a little work on it and get this one going. But yeah, I've learned this MCW paint very well. So if you guys get a paint you like, stick with it. I mean, you'll get it hammered out really good. Like I say, there's nothing done to this. It's just fresh off the airbrush, and it's just, I haven't even baked it. It's just been sitting in the dehydrator. And you guys, once you get doing things, you can really get it honed in and make it your own, you know. So that's the cool thing about this hobby. You can work at it and make something look pretty good, you know, and that's what it's all about. So just enjoy it, have fun with it, and run with it from there. So I'm going to wrap this video up, guys, so I hope it's not too long. I'm sure it probably is. And yeah, so I thank everybody that's, you know, that watches the channel, all that fun stuff. And you know what, we're going to these model shows. Like say, my first time going to a show, I had all you guys coming up to me and saying hello, and I thought, what the heck? That was weird. It was weird the first time. I'm not going to lie. That was kind of weird. And now I'm used to, I actually enjoy it because I love talking to people. I've met so many cool people, so many things. So if you guys never gone to model shows, I highly recommend going, because you'll meet so many cool people, because you're all there, you're all like-minded, and it's just amazing the people you meet. And I met Tony Lancer there, and that was a couple years ago, and we're good friends today. So we talk all the time, and you know, we hang out with each other's place and whatnot. And like I say, I love going to shows and just talking to her. Just ask Tony. He'll always, oh, who are you talking to now? You know, that's just the way I am. But I appreciate everybody. And like I say, you come up to me at a show, I'll talk to you. So just, I love it. That's my favorite part of going to the shows, is that part of the commodity and, you know, hanging out with people. It's great. So I highly encourage you guys, go to the shows. It's well worth going, and it's great. So that's all I got, I guess. The model journey continues, and I'm looking forward to the next upcoming years to see what we build and what we come up with, and maybe try different products. I'm not sure. But once again, guys, I appreciate you guys tuning in, checking out the channel. Hey, we'll see you guys on the next video, or maybe at the next model show. So you guys have a good one, and thanks again.